There. This is Sunday, February 14th, and happy Valentine's Day. And so today we start out our daily word with heart expression. Today's daily word. You are dear to me. I hold you in my heart. Sharing love is a wonderful way of discovering and responding to the divinity alive in every heart, binding us as a human family. My loving nature helps me see the best in every person whose life touches mine. Today, I remember one of the legends of St. Valentine, in which he fashioned pieces of parchment into hearts, which he gave to others, as token of his compassion and God's love. Today, the tradition continues when I say, You are dear to me. I hold you in my heart. With a gift card, a call, or a simple act of kindness, I share love with no expectation or reciprocation, and my heart welcomes every expression of love from others. Love's energy grows through both giving and receiving. And from John 13:34, it says, I give you a new commandment, that you love one another, just as I have loved you, and you also should love one another. So let us take this St. Valentine's Day into our hearts, and we just allow ourselves to get still. You are dear to me. I hold you in my heart. So we offer you this opportunity to just get still, to just breathe in, and to allow the universe to work with you. As you open your heart, imagine your heart opening wide like a flower has just bloomed, where you are open and receptive to all that awaits you. For we give our time right now over to that still small voice of God. And this is our time to just be still with God, to allow ourselves to just connect, to just connect. And so I invite you to get still. Put our hands on our laps and open your palms up to be an open vessel. Put both feet on the ground to balance and be grounded within the earth. And so we get still. And I invite you during this still time to bring people into your heart. And whoever comes to mind, we're not opposed to putting that person in our hearts, no matter what's transgressed between us. We place that person in our heart. We place situations in our heart as well, remembering that we are an open vessel. We allow our hearts to take in an abundant array of situations and persons. We let ourselves go. And so call to mind family members, ones who have moved on to a different expression. And we imagine ourselves bringing their soul into our heart. For it is the heart that heals. The mind gives us expression, but it is the heart that does the healing. For God so loved everyone, even the wretched, even the poor, even the eager, even the greedy, the wealthier. God loves us all, no matter what. So we too can model that by opening our hearts to everyone, no matter what they've done, what they perceive to have not done. We let them in our hearts. We allow ourselves to be in that moment connected with God. So we breathe. If ramblings of the mind take over, we just center ourselves again, focusing on the open heart. So let us go into the silence where all good things reside. And we allow that still small voice of God to work through us, keeping our hearts open. So we gently bring ourselves back to this moment of now and in our own special way give gratitude for once again connecting with a divine self within us. And for this we are grateful. And so it is. Amen. Amen. So today, being Valentine's Day and and how we embody the love that we have for each other, I wanted to share with you two particular Bible verses. One is from Matthew, and this is Matthew 5:39, and it reads, "But I tell you not to resist an evil person, but whomever slaps you on your right cheek, turn the other to him also." What? This is not a verse that we haven't heard before, but it is like, what? So someone's hurt you. And Matthew is saying, turn your other cheek. They have no power over you. Yes, they slapped you. And how you respond to that slap is the lesson. So you turn the other cheek and let them slap you on that side. Because only you can determine what that slap means. And Matthew is saying, let it mean love. Let it mean that it has no effect on you, that you're impervious to this hit. And of course, the slapping of the face is indicative of anything that happens in our life that brings us some form of harm or we're opposed to. We've even heard the expression, well, that was a slap in the face. You didn't know it was coming. You were surprised. And you feel a negative emotion, sadness, hurt, angry, surprised, ridiculed, whatever the emotion might be. And Matthew says, don't let it bother you. That's their stuff. They're seeing within you something that is strong within them, and they're opposed to it. So in our quest for non-resistance, we don't oppose the slap. We don't oppose it because it has no bearing on us. It has no landing spot. You see, because another person cannot hurt us unless we let that other person hurt us. We have choice. We have choice. The other Bible verse is from James. Now here, very similar take, but let's take a look at it. And in James chapter 4, verse 7, it says, therefore, submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Amelia Shanken, in her book, What Are You?, in the last chapter for non-resistance, says that when we open ourselves up to God totally, there is no devil in the response. There is only good. And the devil appears when we start to oppose or resist the universe as it moves us into our greater enlightenment. You see, when we oppose another human being, we are in resistance to their good. And that rejects God. Now, the good news is that God just keeps giving it, because God has an unlimited supply of all the good that we will ever need. You see, you can't live in poverty and believe that with God all things are possible. They are incongruent. You're opposing God by declaring that you're in poverty, or that you don't have enough, or that life is unfair. You see, because if you really believe that God is all encompassing, all omnipotent, omnipresent within you, then there is no resisting that, no matter where it comes from, right? Because our good comes from so many areas of our life. It's not just here or there, it's everywhere our good can come to us. But when we resist, we push back, and we are limiting God's good to us. We say we don't want to do that, and yet we do. So in this season of love for Valentine's Day, we freely give of ourselves. We freely give our love with no strings attached. I love you because you've been good to me. Okay, you can love that person for that. But there's strings attached with that. Why not love them just because you can? Very different expression. You know, we're in a society that says that having a significant other is an important aspect of our being for us to love another human being. But God says, why not love everybody as if they were your significant other? Wow, huh? It's easy to love a puppy. They are so giving of themselves. They just cuddle and they're soft, and it's delightful to be with them. Unconditional love that an animal bestows on a human being for whatever reason. When we love ourselves enough, it's easy to love others. But how do we love ourselves? We're opposed to aspects of our life that we don't like. We don't like the gray hair. We don't like the way that we're getting old. We don't like the way our neighbors treat us. Blah, 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 blah. We don't like. Stop. Stop. When you love all of your life, there is no we don't like. None. You see? See, our personal side, that being of us that changes with the times, creates this disconnect. But when we live within the impersonal, which is ever not changing, it is concrete, guaranteed with no exceptions. That's the state we want to live in. And our quest is to live in that state more and more often than we did yesterday. To allow the universe to give to you. Whether you've deserved it or not is irrelevant. It's yours. You see, because you are safe, and you do not need to oppose anything at all. You see, the world is filled with differences, but the world is also filled with likes. Rather than focusing on the differences between you and me, let's focus on what we have in common. You see how the law of mind action kicks in and says, oh, that's what you want to give your attention to. The likes, the similarities. Because when we focus on the differences, we're opposing that individual with their differences. This is not about agreeing to disagree. This is agreeing to be different from each other. Two different energies. For God so loved the world, he gave us everything in this entity that we call the Christ consciousness. When we focus our attention on what's in the super consciousness, lots of wonderful things can happen to us, because in the super consciousness, there is no differences. Everybody has this super consciousness. It's all within us. Our job is to tap into it. And tapping in is the fun part. You get to create this wonderful universe. You see, are you opposed to sleeping comfortably and well? When you wake up in the middle of the night, what are you focused on? Oh, I woke up. You're opposed. Why not wake up and go, hey, here's an opportunity for me to give gratitude to God. And the opposition diminishes and we fall back to sleep. Prior to me coming into Unity, I knew my boss had a house guest. And that house guest, he was sharing with me, over the water cooler in the mornings about his house guest. And he was a Sufi. Now, I didn't know what a Sufi was, but I knew it was a different religion than where I came from. But I didn't have any problems with his religion. Whatever he wanted to do was okay with me. I wasn't in opposition to him. But he shared some things that just, I remember it so vividly. He said that this house guest, which was a person in the Sufi faith that was high up in the echelon within that movement, and so he offered his home, and this woman came and stayed with him, and he said, I don't know what it is about her. She doesn't need sleep. She doesn't need food. She's an abundance of energy. And he said, so I approached her with it, and she said, I'm not opposed to it, but when I need it, I'll get it. She had taught her body to live in this universe without the 8 hours required sleep, without all the food nutrients that you're supposed to follow, vegetables, fruit, proteins, legumes, none of that. She didn't live her life on that. She lived her life with connected to not being opposed or resisting. She let her body tell her when she needed something rather than the universe telling her. And he said he was so impressed with this woman who was in her 90s. And he said she didn't look over 60. It's amazing. So we all have people that we have read about or personally have met or have heard about who live outside the box of our personality, but lives within the impersonal, where there's no opposition to what the universe is providing. An acceptance, open heart, that love center is filled with the truth of who they are. Because in God's universe, which is where we all reside, we can get everything we need, always, you see. But we fall into this trap, into this opposing what's going on, resisting, pushing back, denying our good. And our job is to be non-resistant, to not be opposed to anything, not opposed to the weather, not opposed to oil prices, not opposed to the way our car runs, or to car payments, or to mortgage payments, or to when we're getting a vaccine or vaccination. We're not opposed to anything. That's the law of non-resistance. And in our mental realm is where we will spend most of our opposing time. Most of our opposing time. Our universe right now is in a flux of something wonderful is brewing with all of the opposition that we're seeing. Something catalytic is going to cause us to come down, and something magnificent is going to be created from that. Or do you think the world's going to end because the opposition to each other is so strong? That's not believing that with God all things are possible. And that's not believing that we can all live in peace. We want that peace. We want our hearts to be wide open to everybody and everything. But we've been told to not be. And it's up to us to change that. You see, because we have control over what we think. And it's up to us to recognize that what we're doing to ourselves is in opposition to the world of good that God provides. If everything in the universe is good, then why do I not see and feel and appreciate and be part of that goodness? Because our state of mind is in opposition of it. We control our state of mind. We control what it is we want to put in our minds. What is it that you are putting in your thinking that's causing you to be opposing something? Much like turning the other cheek after being slapped, that Matthew talks about. See, we can't be opposed to even the slap. We can't take it personally because it's just the other person who's projecting their opposition with something within you, as you might do to them when you're opposed to that is around you, whether it be another human being or within your own self. Where's your self-worth? How do you love yourself, even with all the imperfections? Or do you say, I love me, but, and then you add something after that? That's not love. That's opposition to love. And then we want to know why we don't feel love. Because the law of mind action says you're giving that strong part of you the attention to something negative. It's up to us to not spend our time in that negativity. Opposing is negative. Resisting creates more resistance. That's why I joke, never ask for more patience, because then you have more opportunity with which you need patience. What you really want is peace of mind. You want to be calm. You want to be ready for all that awaits you at the perfect time, rather than the impatience, because it didn't happen right here, right now. I climbed up on a ladder this morning to get something on an upper cabinet, and my ladder, two-step ladder, was blocking Nina's toys. And she decided when I climbed that ladder, she wanted her toys. And she tried to move the ladder. She tried to get underneath it. She looked at me like, why are you blocking my toys? And I'm like, oh my God, child, give me just a minute to finish this task. She was impatient. And most of us know that dogs are about 2 years old. No matter what age dog life is, they're about a 2-year-old. They need a little bit of attention. They need to have, the outdoor activities to relieve themselves, like a 2-year-old. But I thought it was funny, and I chuckled and went, oh my gosh, this is what I'm going to talk about in the talk, the non-resistance. And yeah. Be aware, pay attention to how you're in opposition to your life. What areas of your life are you resisting rather than the natural flow? Are you resisting getting old? Imagine if you weren't resistant. The wrinkles would go away because we're not resisting wrinkles. Yeah. So what are we giving our attention to? Do we give our attention to the wrinkles? Yeah. You see, with God, all things are possible. And that means that not being opposed to death means that we won't have death. Hard for us to imagine because we're so closely related to death. We know all about death. We don't know what happens after death, but we all have the many expressions of how death manifests itself in our lives, in others' lives, in people we've loved, people we put into our heart that have made their transition. We miss them. Yeah. And our heart weeps for them. But death is man-made. The other big opposition that we all do is time. We oppose time. Time is simply a method with which to declare from one day to the other. But we say we don't have enough time. Time's running out, we say. I took a spiritual workshop after I got into Unity, and wow, I learned how to stop time. It's totally possible. It's totally possible. I used to mark how long it would take me to get to the church from my house. 13 and a half minutes, So I knew exactly when to leave and I'd get there. So I'm running late big time. I haven't got 13 minutes. I will be late. And the ministry I grew up in, you don't be late. Nano, you don't do that. So there I am running late. And I went, wait, let me stop time. Let me not believe that I don't have enough time to get there and be there exactly as I should be. And time disappeared. I got to where I needed to be, and I got there in a whole lot less than 13 minutes by magic, right? A miracle. No, no miracle. I declared what I wanted and I got it. And I let nothing in my consciousness tell me I couldn't. And I used it to benefit me. No one else was harmed in the process. It didn't involve anybody else. It was just mine. You see, when we're triggered by another human being, we are opposing that person. We're opposing that notion of whatever it is they've said that's triggered you. Don't be opposed. Be non-resistant to the opposition. Declare your similarities, not your differences. Be non-resistant to God. To trust fully that where you are headed, when you follow the wisdom and guidance of God, is a beautiful place, giving you more than you could ever imagine. The biggest non-resistance example I can give you for my life was I was newly ordained, only in the ministry a couple of years, when it became clear to me that my mom needed some assistance. One of our family members was going to have to go down and be with mom. Now, I have a large family, so this was not new news to us. We always knew that someone was going to have to go and take care of mom when the time came, and this was the time. It wasn't mine to do. I'd already taken care of my two sisters. My older brother had my grandmother lived with him. He'd already paid his dues about having to take care of another human being, so the shrinkage. And we had one brother who always said, when the time comes, I'm going to take care of mom. Time came. I picked up the phone and called him. He said, oh no, I'm not doing it. What? I was so opposed to this. I was like, wait a second. You always said you were going to do this. He said, yeah, but I got a new wife now. We're not going to relocate to Phoenix. Not going to happen. We got to figure out a different way. And I'm thinking, we don't got to do nothing. You got to keep your agreement. I was in such opposition to him. And I hung up the phone and said, I'm going to have to talk to God about this. Something's not right. Because I am feeling not right. And I did. I spent a lot of time in that quiet for a week or two. And finally it became clear to me. I was the one to do it. And I needed to stop resisting that. Sure, I paid my debts by burying both of my sisters and taking care of them. Sure, in a righteous mode, I shouldn't be the one. But when I followed the wisdom and guidance of God and accepted my plight, because that's how I viewed it, my plight in life, by golly, I have to go do this. And I stopped fighting. I became non-resistant to this. Say yes, and it's all going to work itself out, Mo. Now the next hurdle was my new wife. I had only just got married 1 month when I approached her and said, I got a problem. I think I need to go take care of my mom. Her response just endeared me forever to her. Well, then that's what we got to do. Let's see what we have to do. She was not opposed to it at all. Not one inkling. And then we set into motion how to do that in a manner that benefited everybody. And didn't it fold out that I actually didn't have to take care of my mom at all? When I got there, she made her transition only 6 weeks later. I was not burdened by her transition. I didn't have to take care of every little need that she had for years to come. I became willing to follow the wisdom and guidance of God. It was mine to do. And I was blessed by that. Non-resistance opens your heart. You can love so much more when you are open and receptive and in a non-opposing manner. To resist is to cause your own being pain. Don't do that. Use your non-resistance to be open and receptive to the many things that God has in store for you. It's yours. Be part of that wonderful expression. So today's homework is to look at areas of your life that you're opposing and stop opposing it. Look at the similarities. Stop focusing on the discord between a situation or a person and open your heart to them. And stop allowing yourself to feel the sting of a slap, but rather be open and receptive to the good that God has for you. God bless you. I love you. And remember that we are open and receptive to your gifts and your love offerings. Feel free to write us a check or to get on our Tithely app to make it so much easier to freely give. And don't forget, we're right in the middle of an outreach project with our auction. Contact the office, buy some tickets, and get in on the auction. We've got our annual meeting a week from today at noon on our Zoom account. Don't forget that. We're just starting a class by two of our licensed teachers. So self-care, who doesn't need self-care? And these two ladies are dynamic and charismatic and will really handle that material. So feel free to jump in with them. And in fact, tell your friends to jump in on this class. Everybody needs self-care. It's not just for spiritual beings, it's for everybody, which we're all spiritual beings. So check that out as well. And don't forget, Joel Goldstein study group is starting up with Dick being our host on that. If you want more information, contact Dick. And I love you, and we will see you next time. See you in the annual meeting. Bye now.